It's coffee. It's comics. It's music. It's Nerds on Coffee.
How do you know that we're live?
We're recording.
I don't know that we're recording. Oh, wow. Now I can
You
see
see
it.
that?
Oh, there you go.
You see that? You fucking idiot.
That's
We're
a recording right there. That looks like recording happening.
But why does your thing on the top have an extra color thing than mine? Look on the left.
Oh, that?
Yeah.
That's just means that I'm input monitoring, and you have it too. It's just my track is highlighted.
Right, that's what I meant.
See? Now you have it.
Oh, wow.
See? Now Jay has it.
Ah.
So, bum-ba-da-da. We're back. Invite Only Studios, New York City.
It's kind of coming in. It's kind of turning into a second home.
Yeah, it's really nice here.
Yeah.
The studio is, I would say, about 90% completed. Should be fully done over the next few weeks. Really excited to start doing some live Nerds on Coffee here as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast.
Big ups to Pat and Doc for always making us feel like family.
Yes, and mainly Pat, just because I know Doc's not going to listen.
Yeah,
And Pat's the
exactly.
guy that actually does all the work.
If Doc does listen, then we know he's monitoring to see if we said anything bad about him, and
Which
we should
is not outside the realm of possibility.
and we should probably go hide in another country or planet. And but Pat is probably going to listen. And he's such he is the other human being on this planet that I would say is an outdoorsman like you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's got that burly I'm going to go kill a lion so I can eat tonight.
right.
Just
Like he
you.
doesn't like the city, but knows he needs it.
Exactly,
You know?
exactly.
Comes
That's
from a long
definitely
line
Pat.
of frontiersmen and
Oh,
outdoor types.
Oh wow, we have a guest today.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, hello, Jay.
Sorry, I just jumped in there with that.
There's
Couldn't
a
help
voice.
The voice of God.
That's incredible.
Dun dun dun.
So Jay Van Buren of Membit Technologies and Glimpse Group VR.
Just Glimpse Group.
Just
Yep.
Glimpse Group. Jay and I have known each other now for probably 5 years and have really known each other for the last 2 as Membit and Hero are working out the details of a merger partnership
Oh, nice.
to create a AR VR platform for all the comic stuff that we're imagining. And Jay has successfully created relationships with companies that I'm not sure I should name. So I'm not going to name them, but has made amazing partnerships. Yes,
Airbus.
yes, exactly. Those are the companies. But no, the partnerships have created these incredible opportunities in the fine art realm, and I think in the next 6 months we'll be able to start talking about it more publicly. But until then, just know that he's doing cooler shit than you.
I didn't need that explanation to believe that was true. And so,
I mean, yeah, he kind of looks like Boar,
yeah.
Who's Boar?
Father of Odin.
Oh, wow, cool. All right, I think that just made
Deep
me.
cut.
That just
Yeah,
made me.
deep cut.
That just made me into a god. I think. Pretty
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Well,
I like
you're
being a
Nordic,
god.
right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Dutch and my mom's family is Swedish.
You don't have locks like that
so-
if you're not Nordic.
Yeah,
true.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Yeah, I mean that's it's genetically programmed that only Nords can have hair that looks like that.
Right. And I have a whole bunch of my friends who have sworn to me that they're going to tell me when, because, I don't know if you can tell, it's getting a little thin right here at the front. They're going to tell me when it's time for me to just stop with the long hair thing, because
Gotcha.
I do not want to be one of those guys that's got like the long hair and then like the balding on top.
You do
and
not
it's just
want
like
to be Dog the
trying
Bounty
to,
Hunter.
Oh my God,
That's what
no,
I'm saying.
please.
Like-
I can't be that guy. But the thing is, I actually don't trust myself, to be
Like you don't trust your own judgment,
I
is
don't
what you're
trust my
saying?
own, I do
That's
not
fair.
trust my own judgment to actually recognize when that moment has come. So several of my friends have sworn to me that they're going to come to me and they're going to have an intervention and say,
Be like, hey,
dude,
man.
it's time to cut your hair off. You cannot have long hair
that's
anymore.
Just so that we know, because I want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. If me and Kyle had a pack like that, the intervention would be him injecting me with some sort of tranquilizer, me waking up strapped down, and him ready to cut my hair off.
Yeah, and be like, hey, I could have already done this and made it easier, but I want you to have a memory of it. So, yeah.
Oh God.
Exactly.
Yeah, see, I didn't go that way with friends of mine that I was talking about. It was more, like gentle and like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
It's a gentle fuck.
Yeah.
But so you and we were talking about this off air a little bit, but you've kind of come into love of the comic book and graphic art world through proxy of your wife.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
I would love to you kind of give our listeners a little background on that story.
So it's funny because my background is in fine art. I have a master's degree in painting from Parsons. I really never read comics when I was a kid, although I was a humongous Star Wars nerd. So the world of taking very seriously and thinking obsessively about something that most people think is bullshit, stupid nonsense is a world that I'm totally familiar with.
We used to just describe mine and Matt's jobs.
But just from a different art form. You know, for me it was sci-fi.
Yeah, that's great.
I kind of thought comic books were bullshit, I gotta say. Like,
Interesting.
I really thought,
From what point of view?
Well, I basically thought that they were poorly drawn pictures with poorly written stories. And that, you know, which I know that sounds incredibly snobby, but basically I was
but if
like...
you've always been drawn to having like a background in art and you are a sci-fi person, like that might be like the lowbrow version of what you like.
Yeah. I just like, yeah, the truth is I didn't really know what I was talking about. I just like from a position of ignorance was kind of like writing off a whole art form and saying like, this is crap. And
I think a lot of people do that though.
Yeah, no, a ton of people do that. And then, you know, and I was kind of like, yeah, you know, it's like you can have like a really well-written book and that can be a beautiful art form, and you can have a painting and that can be a beautiful art form, but a comic book is like a crappy version of those two things stuck together. And it wasn't until my wife set me straight. I met Katie, and she was a comic book editor at Kitchen Sink Press,
which is a big deal back in the day.
Which was a big deal back in the day. And then
they were in Northampton, Massachusetts.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And then she worked for DC Comics. She ran their website, and so she just like knew all these people in comics. And it was really funny. Like our second date, we went to this event that was like a comic book, some kind of comic book event, and it was a funny way for me to kind of get introduced to her in that scene, because like we came into this place and like there were just all these people coming up to her and they were like, "Oh, it's Katie!" Like, "Oh, wow!"
You're like, "Oh shit, what's going on here?"
I was like, "Damn, my date's like really popular with everybody in this room." You know?
Right, that's amazing.
And it was very cool. But she really taught me about like comic books as an art form, right?
Yeah.
And like the way that you use the panels and the way that you know, the mixture of like telling the story through words and telling the story through pictures and all of that stuff, and made me appreciate the artistry of it, and also, frankly, introduced me to some really good comics, because I had seen a lot of crap before.
There, like music, there is an ability to have a low barrier to entry. So if you're unfortunate, you can get introduced to the comics like to music with bad versions of it.
You totally
that kind
can.
of speak to the holisticness of that art.
Absolutely.
But to your point, and I hadn't thought of it before, but it is really fascinating how adults have indoctrinated Family Guy and South Park and Rick and Morty and all these animated shows, but comics and graphic novels, not necessarily just a comic, but a full graphic novel, still to the mass public is not as even as a novel, where a Family Guy and a Born Supremacy are on the same level. It's just two different versions of adult entertainment. Right. But a novel and a graphic novel are not two versions of adult entertainment. They're looked at differently.
Totally. And I would argue, and I understand that it's two different art forms, and I understand there's two different styles of writing, because I know the shows that you listed and lots of animated shows that people are into are comedies. And graphic novels as a whole are usually more serious. But I would also argue that it's like a different caliber of writing too, which is sad that people dismiss comics and graphic novels, because like the writing in them objectively, and some, like you said, like not all of them are great, but of the ones that are good, the writing is like very, very legitimate. It's like people actually know what they're talking about. They actually know how like to construct a story arc, character development. They actually know how to go in and out of a story. Like their vocabulary is like way better than what I'm choosing to use right now to describe it. And like Family Guy, Rick and Morty, all these shows, it's really just like topical political humor or pop culture humor, which there's nothing wrong with. I love Family Guy, American Dad, South Park. Like
I just meant more from the point of view that the viewer looks at it with the same level of care.
No, totally. I'm just saying it's sad that they do when there actually is a huge difference, and sad that they don't put graphic novels in this level. It's really just because people don't like reading. America doesn't like to read.
But people do like reading books. Like there are people that like enjoy book. Like what I'm trying to say is the person that enjoyed the Stephen King book should also enjoy Infinity Gauntlet.
Sure.
You know?
But it's a different medium, you know? That's like saying, like, because you like my pop songs, you'll like my pop country songs.
But I'm saying that same person will like the animated show and the live action show.
Yeah. There's more of those people for sure.
Right? Like there'll be a person who will enjoy reading a book enjoy watching an animated show, enjoy watching a live action show, but wouldn't read a graphic novel.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's weird to me.
That's a majority of people, I think, too.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
what I was trying to get across.
Right.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Minagosh?
Well, I was just going to take issue with you guys saying Rick and Morty and like Family Guy in the same breath because I mean, to me, I mean, okay, I just hate Family Guy. I'm sorry.
I get that.
But I love Rick and Morty. I think that's awesome. But you guys actually like Family Guy?
No, I don't like. Okay. I don't like either of those. I can't get past the burping. We've talked about this.
Okay.
See, I love them. I love them all, but like, I completely agree with you. Justin Roiland's in a completely different category, and I've been a Justin Roiland fan since like House of Cosby's.
That's the Rick and Morty guy.
Yeah, it's Rick and Morty guy. Yeah. I don't have a problem with Seth MacFarlane. I like Seth MacFarlane. Seth MacFarlane is very good.
Is way better.
He's very good at what he does. Right, because he's just a huge like sci-fi nerd.
Well, he's
too.
super popular. That's for sure.
He's extremely popular. Justin Roiland's like one of his very early releases was through YouTube, and it was only technically five episodes, really 4 of content of his show called House of Cosby's. Have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
You should watch it. So House of Cosby's, it's so ridiculous.
Is it an animated show about the Cosbys?
Nope. Kind of. So
how bad is this gonna get?
No, it's not going to get bad at all.
You should probably talk closer to the mic, right?
Oh, I can gain it up.
Oh, you're
fine. Yeah, I mean, like
I can also talk closer to the mic.
Yeah, it's either or, man. It's whatever. It's not a big deal.
Give me the synopsis.
Just know Joyce is judging you.
Joyce does judge.
Joyce judges.
Joyce judges.
Joyce is at all of our East Coast gatherings.
Yes.
No matter what it is.
Okay. So, well, that's good.
Yeah.
What's a
House of Cosby's is like
House of Cards?
No, it was 4 episodes of content, and then the 5th episode, which I'll get to here in a minute. So basically, it's about this guy. It's animated rather poorly, I might add, but in a good way. You can
purposefully poor.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that it's like a precursor to Rick and Morty in terms of like the animation style and the writing and the humor. So it's this guy that's obsessed with Bill Cosby. Is a huge Bill Cosby fan and works tirelessly to build a cloning machine, and then goes and meets Bill Cosby and gets a strand of his hair and clones him because he just wants to hang out with Bill Cosby all day. That's all he wants to do. It's just hang out with Bill Cosby every day at his house. So he clones him, and he realizes it's like, the clone didn't quite come out the way I wanted it to. So he tries again and again and again and again, and he ends up having like dozens of Bill Cosby clones, but it's like a multiplicity to where like they all have different personalities. So there's like a bath time Cosby, there's a father Cosby, there's
Batman Cosby.
Yeah, there wasn't a Batman Cosby to my memory, but that's the thing. Like, there's a different type of Cosby,
right.
They're all defined by that one characteristic.
You know, you know where he got that idea from. You haven't read the Hickman's Fantastic Four yet, have you?
No, I haven't read it.
But what's his name? Reed
Richards.
Yeah, there's like a council of Reeds.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know the Council of Reeds?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah,
and is that where the Council of Ricks comes from?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Council of Reeds is every known Reed Richards from the multiverse comes together in this, like, void of universes. It's like in a void that's not in the multiverse, but not anywhere. And that's where all the Reeds come together because they're, like, the smartest being, and they like make decisions for the multiverse.
Okay, yeah, so that's what, because they have the Council of Ricks in Rick and Morty, and that's like, oh wow,
it's hilarious,
that's really funny. So
House of Cosby's is basically that. So like, there's a different type of Cosby. There's an R2D2 Cosby called BCD2.
Oh my god,
they're all.
Stop.
So here's
is there a BC3PO?
No, it's just BCD2. But here's the thing. So, like, there's a bunch of different types of Cosbys, and there's one, like, I think Dad Cosby just walks around and goes, Theo! Like, the whole episode, and it's really funny. So there's a bunch of different types of Cosbys. It's hilarious. Bath time Cosby never gets out of the bath. There's a Cosbyette who's, like, a hot female Cosby, and there's, like, all these different kinds. But he discovers every 10th Cosby he clones is a super Cosby and has a superpower.
Oh my god.
So then he starts cloning like dozens of them. He's like, oh shit.
Because he wants to get more super Cosbys.
Exactly.
Right.
So he gets a bunch of super Cosbys, and they form this force called Cosby Team Tri-Osby, and they like are gearing up to like fight crime, and that's episode 4. So we go through the first 4 episodes. By the way, the episode's like 5 minutes long. You can watch the entire series in like 20 minutes.
Episode 5 is the Cosbys fighting.
No, episode 5 is literally him just reading a cease and desist he got from Bill Cosby's lawyer for using the likeness in his image because they got really pissed about it.
Oh
and
my
this
God!
Was before everything came out with Bill Cosby, too,
that's
way before.
Oh my God!
So they didn't even have any like super rape drug Cosby. Like, no, they didn't happen.
They didn't even get to those. They literally just, literally the show began because he was just such a massive fan of Bill Cosby. He's like, I want to clone all these Bill Cosbys.
Well.
That's really funny.
No, it didn't age well, but it's still up.
You should do an episode 6 where he writes a piece about how he helped Bill Cosby's career.
Probably.
You know, there's something really good there. Like that, there's something that's true of that and is also true of Rick and Morty.
Why is this so low?
Is this concept?
It's fine.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it's not a big deal. That's fine.
Okay. Is that the idea that human nature is such that when we get some kind of amazing power, like the ability to clone people or whatever, that we're gonna do really stupid shit with it. And I think and like that is 100% true of human nature. It's like every single
obviously.
thing.
Have
right?
you ever watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So Star-Lord creates a fucking Pac-Man when he becomes a god.
No, pretty much.
No, you know when he says there's that moment where
I'm gonna make some really crazy shit.
Right. That moment when I was in the theater, Katie just looked right at me. And I know exactly what she was thinking.
Right,
she was
that's
thinking,
people.
She was she was like, you would do that.
Oh yeah.
You would like. She was like looking at me saying, if you had powers, like look the fuck out because you would do all kinds of stupid bullshit. Like, and
that's
she's
amazing.
Totally right. So, but I always say like, if I ever get really rich, like look the fuck out because
totally.
I mean, one of the things like
I talk about that also. How I think like people gave Justin Bieber a bad rap for all the money he had to just TP a few houses. I would have done way worse shit.
There's men in their 40s and 50s that have that kind of money that make stupider decisions than what he did as a 17-year-old.
Totally.
He totally gets a pass.
Yeah.
for sure.
What was one of the things that you would do?
Well, one of the things I want to make is the garden of obsolete media. So this would be this giant palatial garden, and it would be like have an endowment to continuously have it be staffed, right? And everybody could bring all of their old records and 8-track tapes and CDs and like video game cartridges and everything that you can't play anymore because you don't even have the machine anymore for it. And in this place, there'd be this giant DJ booth that would have every single kind of player that you could possibly imagine. And then basically you would just be able to go there and there'd just be like these racks and racks of all these like records and all this stuff that everyone brought, and you'd be able to bring whatever you want up to the DJ booth and they'd play it for you. And it would just be like this place to enjoy all of the obsolete things.
I love it. I would go, and the first thing I would do was watch Ewok Caravan of Courage on beta.
Oh,
yeah,
dude! Forgot about that.
Judging by the look on your face, you haven't heard anyone say that since it came out.
I don't think I have. But I totally remember it. And
I know.
Well, and then their other one was the Wookiee Christmas special.
I know.
Like that's the one. Actually on YouTube now.
They were all awful.
Yeah,
but they were all also part of my childhood. So.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Right?
Dude,
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I have this theory that nothing is truly appreciated until it's obsolete. And because whenever something is like the state of the art, it's just used as a means to an end. It's just like this is how you do it. You do it this way, right?
Sure.
And then it's only after, like once something becomes obsolete, then people start to notice, because every media has its own intrinsic qualities that are unique to that media. And it's only after they become obsolete that people will be like, oh, cool, you know? It's like, I remember so well when I was in grad school, it was right around the transition from regular photography to digital photography. And there were all these like digital, these like old school photographers who were like all pissed off. They're like grumping about digital stuff, and they're like, "Oh, but you know, you'd miss the smell of the dark room and like all this stuff." And I'm like, yes, welcome to the world of loving something which is obsolete. We painters have been here for a long time before you.
I couldn't agree more with that. I think that also works for like visionaries and leaders. Like you don't realize how influentially good they were when they were the status quo, right? We were talking about that this morning.
Yeah,
like because, and I don't know if this is popular or unpopular opinion, but because of how atrocious Mark Zuckerberg is as a technology leader, you realize how amazing Steve Jobs and Bill Gates were in their time.
That's very
totally.
true. Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
Because like their social responsibility to like the people and to like bleeding edge of technology run circles around what Zuckerberg or even, I mean, I do like what's his name at Twitter, Jack Dorsey.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I just don't think that they're not in the same class of like what Jobs and Gates did or were
Well, I think
envisioning doing.
Well, I think the difference is you have people who are on the social media side of things who their vision is ultimately supported and proliferated through the technology that the vision of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates' era created. And so it's
Totally.
like,
Very true.
So it's like, yeah, they can be in the same arena of people that are pushing our society forward in terms of like technology and social media and how we connect and things that we're able to use, but it's not quite the same because they're still using someone else's innovation to push theirs forward.
Very
So
true.
like we don't have Instagram if you don't have if you don't have an iPhone. Because we really don't get an app store unless you have Apple.
Yep.
Now, that moved through Android and through Google
But
and through
started in
Microsoft. But like Apple was the first company that really like said, hey, you need to make technology part of your lifestyle. Here's how you do it. And that's what
Totally.
happened, and so
it is interesting because without thinking about this until right now, Elon is more associated to the Gates and the Warren Buffetts because he is original inventor than he is to the Zuckerbergs and Dorseys.
For sure.
Even though that the Dorseys and Zuckerbergs are his era of innovation,
right.
he's more connected social politically to the people that created things that stand on their own.
Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk is just like a beautiful unicorn that like taking something that already existed and then making and still finding a way to make it new, like a car. Like a car already existed, and we had a way to
Electric
travel.
cars even existed to an extent.
That's very true. Like like Toyota's been fucking them up for years. So,
But nobody had done luxury.
exactly.
And-
and full electric to the point that Tesla did it. BMW wasn't even doing it with the i3 because
Exactly.
they still had a fuel cell reserve.
Yes.
And so it's still technically a hybrid, even though it didn't engage until the battery got below a certain percent.
And with the rockets, obviously people have been using rockets for decades, but nobody had built a rocket vertically. Oh, I mean horizontally.
Right.
Until Elon. So I don't know if you knew this, but the thing that made SpaceX is that they patented and own the proprietary information to how to build a rocket horizontally. So you don't need to build scaffolding every single time you build the rocket. You can build it horizontally in a bay, and that bay can always be there. But before you had to build scaffolding vertically, and then that scaffolding had to be taken down to move the rocket.
Oh, wow.
And it costs 4 times the amount of money. That's
there's
how
also-
that's how Boeing and Lockheed made a bunch of money. So the reason that SpaceX was able to make so much money and so much government contracts so quickly is that Boeing and Lockheed are right in, and all the other space companies are right in the $180 to $250 million a rocket, which is like was the standard. That was the standard. Nobody cared. It was like very reasonable if you looked at the parts and everything. SpaceX comes and says we can do it for $60 million and we'll make a bigger margin than you.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
cool. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can put a car and a spaceman in space, and they did it, and that's awesome. Because
They
now
totally
there's
did
a
it.
car floating towards Mars.
No,
and
past Mars now.
Is it past
Yeah, it's
Mars?
past Mars.
Mars.
Okay, I love that. I just
yeah.
love that that's out there. Like I'm so like I want to be there when the aliens find that, and they're like, "What the fuck is this?"
Right?
Yeah.
It's either going to be like so far beneath them or like just below their mind. The thing that like I think Elon Musk also did beautifully was take technology that people had already been benefited by with the electric car and go, why do they all have to look like fucking eggs? Why do they all have to like not have leather in them? Why do they
Right.
all have to like not be fast?
Right.
Like, why do
well,
they
and
all,
in that way,
you know?
that's a vision. That's like the same kind of thing that Steve Jobs did.
Exactly.
Like,
so it's like
yeah.
the practicality of Bill Gates of
Right,
going
because
like
Steve Jobs didn't create
here's
the first
tech.
computer.
No,
No.
not at all.
Right.
And so it's like Bill Gates is always a lot more practical and business minded, and Steve Jobs was way more of a visionary. And so like Elon Musk, I think is like a perfect blend of like having that practicality of like this dominator of industry like Bill Gates was and is, but then being the visionary of Steve Jobs and having like this like unrelenting, uncompromising vision for what he's going to do.
But then there's also Steve Jobs, as far as I know, never got stoned and tweeted about his stock price. Like,
That's not true. That's not true.
Did he do that?
Steve Jobs very, very openly didn't smoke weed, but took a fuck ton of acid.
Oh, yeah?
Very openly went on multiple retreats to Africa with a shaman, did 27 days straight with acid.
Wow.
That's actually how he created the first Apple computer. And there's an amazing documentary. He was working at Atari, left Atari, went to Africa, did acid for 27 days, came back and had the idea for a closed network computer.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And here we are.
And here we are using Apple technology to record this podcast.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I'm using closed network software.
And are any of us on acid? I don't think. That's,
Currently?
We should.
I don't know.
It could be a more interesting conversation, potentially.
I think that acid definitely helps you unlock certain things.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
But going back to Elon for a second, he does something that Steve Jobs did that you never hear about Zuckerberg or Jack Dorsey, is he'll roll back the sleeves and get dirty. Like when Tesla was like on a crazy deadline to get something done, there's like stories about how he slept on the production floor for like a month. Like he was there for 16, 17 hours a day, just like making sure everything was going down right. To the point where his employees bought him a couch for the production floor. There's like this whole story about it, right? Obviously, he doesn't need the money, right? He's a billionaire, but like he didn't care enough to get himself a couch to sleep on because he was just so focused on getting the job done.
Right.
That is true leadership. And like it got to the point where his team cared more about his well-being than he cared about his well-being,
right? Which
is like a very unique place to be.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. No, but that's what a good leader does in any kind of creative endeavor. Because if you're just totally focused on making the thing and making it right and making it quality, and then you get everyone else inspired to do that too, right? And everybody's like really like that's what they are driving to do is just like make that thing like the way it needs to be.
Yeah.
And that's totally what's required in order to have quality output of any kind. I mean, I always imagine like whenever I see a good movie come out of Hollywood, I'm just like, this is a fucking miracle.
Right.
Because there's so many people. Like, how, like, just,
you got past so many rounds of guys at desks going, I don't know.
Right.
Like, you beat all of them and you made a great movie.
Right. And so much, like, decision by committee and, like, everything. I mean, anything, like, almost all of the good, like, really good quality artistic creations, like, it's so much easier to do with, like, a very small team, like, or one person or three people, or, just a really small focused team to, like, really create something of quality. So when you have, like, a sprawling crew of people.
That is that's the conundrum of quality and money, right? Mm-hmm. You need more people to get the money, but honestly, the quality is better when it's a few people.
Yep.
Everybody has an opinion. And everybody's opinion at a certain level is probably valid, but also there's many different ways to get to the same end goal. It's just a matter of how that art is going to be interpreted, right? Some people think using tropes and using homages to other art is a fun, engaging way to get the fans involved. Some people think that's a cop-out. At the end of the day, I think the fan likes both versions. And it's just a matter of what you're making. But on the creative process, studio execs, depending on who has to approve it, could go either way of that pendulum, meaning that something that could be really cool and pop culture centric might not make it just because that person doesn't like that style.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and I really feel like there's, sometimes those nods to previous things and this kind of, the kind of like knowing jokes that incorporate previous artwork into it, it's actually a way of being more authentic, and because it ends up becoming kind of a conversation between the creator and the viewer, especially if you have an educated viewer who is like aware, like a sort of aware, person experiencing it, because you're kind of saying to them like, okay, yeah, I know this is kind of a cliche, but then check it out because I'm kind of incorporating its clichéness into its thing, and then we're like going beyond that to some other place, and it's like
I always say, especially in my writings and things that I've been working on, that if somebody experiences something that I've created, whether it's visually or by reading it, and they end it and they say, "Oh, that was really dope," and like I really really enjoyed that, and that's it, then I failed, right? The immediate question should be questions about it, engaging conversation about the topics, right? And to do that, sometimes you need really amazing references to things that they relate to, right? It might not be easy to get a 15-year-old to talk about the environment, right? But if you find a clever way to tell them that their favorite sport wouldn't happen anymore if the environment went to shit, or the idea of going to space can't happen if there's no more fossil fuels on the planet, or whatever it is, and you bring it to their level using those homages and homages, then it creates the conversation rather than creating a statement.
Well, it's like if you're putting out art for people to consume, your main question is, how can I get them to want more? You know, like if the purpose of your art is for people to consume it, you always have to be trying to get them to always want it. Like,
right, they need a question to consume more.
Exactly. It's like, if they, like to your point, it's like if they just went being like, oh, that's cool, then they may have enjoyed it, but then they're done. You know what I mean? But like if you're making art for someone else, which most people do, the question is like, how can I get them to always want more? Either to want to continue to re-engage in this experience in a different way or the same way, or to look forward to more experiences that I'm going to give them later through other art. You know?
Right, and that's why we have like 5 listeners left, because we don't achieve any of that.
Our goals aren't to get anyone to listen to like for anything that we're doing.
Self-fulfilling.
Yeah,
Right.
we just like it.
Well, I
just like to have a mic in front of me and tell Kyle how beautiful he is.
That's good. Well, I do believe that it is when an artist makes something and they kind of forget about trying to make it for anyone else, and they make the thing that they need to make, that's when it somehow mystically becomes something that someone else needed to see or someone else needed to hear.
Yeah, there is a line. Like,
yeah. And it's like those are like the things of real lasting quality. Like they have this kind of sense of necessity to them. Like they had to be that way. And that's kind of, you know, well, actually, I don't even know if I probably haven't told you guys how Plato explains why the prequel trilogy sucks so much.
Who's Plato?
Plato, the philosopher.
Like Plato. Like Plato.
Like, yeah. Like
the only way to describe him is just keep saying his name over and over again.
Student of Socrates, teacher of Aristotle.
But how he explains
why the prequel trilogy sucks so hard.
To Star Wars.
Episodes 1, 2, 3.
Come on, what prequel trilogy would I be talking about? But
I guess that's valid, right?
But
Yeah.
like,
actually, disagree.
There's another prequel trilogy.
Hobbit prequel trilogy sucked.
Oh man, that did suck. It also sucked.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether this explanation works for this, but so basically, but
well, let's keep it on to Star Wars.
But yeah,
for now.
just sticking with
like the one, right?
So you know, when I was in grad school, I took this class called Plato for Artists, which was awesome, and it was taught by the head of my department, and it was basically like all the things in Plato that touch on the subject of art. And one of the things that he talked about was in the Republic. Plato's Republic, where he's describing the perfect society, and at a certain point he says, and we're going to kick all the artists out. And, you know, most people read that and they're like, oh, you know, that means Plato hated artists. But then at the end of the Republic, he says, and if the artists come back to the gate and they want to be let back into the city, we'll ask them why. And if they have a good reason, we'll let them back in. And the meaning of that is really that the arts have a valuable role to play in society, but they can't take themselves for granted. The arts have to be made out of necessity, sort of made out of a urgency, right? It's like when you do something because you need to say it, you make a song because you need to sing it, that's when it's really going to be quality and really going to be valuable. And I saw this interview with George Lucas, and it was like the eve of one of the prequel trilogies coming out, right? And the interviewer's like, so George, your new movie's, you know, premiering tomorrow. Are you nervous? And he's like, no, you know, I think everybody loves Star Wars, so I'm not really worried about it, you know. And I was just like, that's why. Like he basically just was like,
took it for granted.
He totally took it for granted.
And he's
like,
not a writer or a director.
And he
He's a creator.
he just
It's true.
I mean, he just like phoned it in, the whole freaking thing. And it was
Totally
like,
did.
and I mean, don't even get me started do get me started, but whatever you want. But basically, like,
Do.
I want to live long enough to see those movies remade because it
Agreed.
should be awesome. It's Faust.
Yes.
How does this cute little boy turn into Darth Vader?
Yep.
Right? And it should be like a really epic, awesome story, and it just sucks.
I think.
Yeah.
Can I just say something? I'm really hoping because of this 20th Century Fox merger that Deadpool 3 he kills Jar Jar Binks.
just because,
That
just
would
to do
be-
it.
Like in the
I would-
post-credit
Yeah.
scenes.
I would pay double to see that.
Sorry, guys.
I would.
Just like he did, like he fixed all the timelines in the second Deadpool at the end.
Oh yeah, with like Green Lantern. Or
yeah,
with
he killed Green Lantern.
yeah. He was just like, sorry, Hollywood. Like,
It'd
no,
be
I-
great if he was like back again and kills Jar Jar.
that's amazing. Yeah, we just need Ryan Reynolds to right all the wrongs that were done in film.
Oh my god, that'd be
That
hilarious.
sounds great.
Because he'll do it. He doesn't care. He's successful enough now to where it's like even if people don't respond well to it as a culture, which we will because he's
Well,
hilarious.
he was Pikachu and apparently it was really good.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it.
Did you
but-
see it, Joyce? Okay.
Yeah, one of my best friends saw it and was like, it's funny and it's fun and it's like worth watching, but like it's not. No one is expecting it to like blow you away.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's fucking Detective Pikachu. Like, what do you expect?
I think it's exactly what I expect.
Exactly. So, now to go back to your point a minute ago of like talking about art, like I think the commercialization of art has kind of split people's perspective for why it's created, and I think it kind of clouds like the authenticity of art a little bit because I have been in such a commercial side of art for so long now that it's really hard for me to think about it any other way other than how can I package something to someone in a way that they're going to enjoy it and want to do it again. But ultimately, the whole reason people are wanting to like take part of that to begin with is because of how it makes them feel. And when you make art, you're making it to feel something, whether it's for yourself and for no one else or for other people or to send a message for something. It's like art exists for a reason.
Yeah.
And I know there's probably lots of philosophical classes about how, there's also like, so you can make art with no reason. Or whatever.
Channeling-
Maybe you can. Like,
Channeling interdimensional ideas.
There's
Is what I
there's
think it
tons
is.
of philosophical classes about art, and most of them are garbage.
Yeah,
because, and I, but like
That's what
I
you studied, right?
yeah, but I mean, well, it's funny because I studied painting, but I also took a bunch of classes over in the philosophy department and the aesthetics department. But I found all of the aesthetics stuff to be just total nonsense. Like I was like, wait, did you ever actually make any art? Like, no, you don't know
Well,
what you're talking
also-
about. But
Did all
but
of you guys read Harry Potter series?
yes.
Everything you just said sounds like Professor Umbridge.
yeah. Pretty
So
much.
yeah, but the thing about art, like at its best, right? It can actually be a moment where two human beings can touch, like
It could be a moment where a whole country can touch.
yeah,
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
I mean, think about it, right? Like the original Star Wars, they didn't think anything was gonna come of it. Like
Yeah.
if you watch have you watched the Toys That Made Us documentary series on Netflix? Have you?
I have not. No,
Like it's some of the episodes are just like kind of irrelevant because I don't really care about those toys.
Right.
But
I
the
think I may have actually seen some of them.
But the first episode's about Star Wars toys. And
That's
like
right.
and
Yeah.
the whole thing starts like it has like a monologue and it starts with the Star Wars series have made $4.5 billion. The toys from the series have made $18 billion.
Oh,
Here
yeah.
is their story.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Right? And
Amazing.
it's crazy. But it's to this point that the art of those films of being a real sci-fi Indiana Jones, right? And taking people on an odyssey connected a nation, maybe even a planet, to the point where they wanted artifacts
right,
in their home.
Right.
Right? And to that point,
Right.
real art, and you touched on something before about Plato, like, it would be interesting for America to care more about artists like Canada does. Right? Like, do you know about all the grants that Canada gives artists?
no, but I believe it. I mean, I know the Europeans have tons of them.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. I know artists on Canadian radio that that's how Drake funded a lot of things early before he had resources. If you were a Canadian artist on Canadian radio, they gave you a lot of money so you didn't have to worry about working. and you could just create art. Also, there's a lot of grants for movies. If you have a Canadian lead actor and you film in Canada, even if you're an American film, if you have two of those things, so it's either writer, director, location, and actor, two of those, you get huge grants from Canadian government for your film.
That's cool. Let's go to Canada and start making some AR VR art.
I'm down.
Let's go.
The only state in America that does that, the only one, Georgia.
Yep, that's why all the sound stages are going to Atlanta.
That's why
every single one of them.
Everything Marvel's filmed in Georgia. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not.
Yeah, everything's filmed in Georgia because they have amazing art grants right now.
I knew that Walking Dead was filmed down there, but that's all because I remember seeing that.
And also large studios.
Well, I mean, it is The Walking Dead down there.
right. But
everyone's also just tired of fucking giving California their money.
Right.
So,
Totally.
Everyone is.
And I think it's also like it's this weird it's like the antithesis of if you build it they will come, right? So like they built it here, everybody came, and now people want to leave.
You're like, oh shit, you ruined it. Yeah.
But I want to spend a little bit of time because I think that we can spend hours just like philosophizing with Jay, but I really want to spend a little bit of time right now on like kind of what you do in AR and VR and like kind of talk a little bit about what Membit is and these technologies that you're building, because it is really cool and it is really gonna be the norm in the next 5 or 10 years.
Totally. Yeah. So I got into AR and VR primarily because it's like where things are headed, and it reminded me what's happening right now in AR and VR reminds me very much of what was happening in the web 20 years ago. And when I was involved back then, and it was like this brand new world, everything was about to change. It really feels like that in augmented reality and virtual reality. So virtual reality, augmented reality first definitionally, just for everybody in case they don't know this. Augmented reality is when you're looking at the world either through your phone or through glasses or something, and you're seeing the real world, but you're seeing extra stuff on top of it.
Right.
And then VR is when you're completely enclosed and you're not here at all. You're in a totally other.
Everything's rendered in front of you.
Right. You're completely in a different place. So they use a lot of the same underlying technologies, and they're eventually going to be very much blended together. Where we'll have like some kind of glasses on that will be pass through, and we'll be seeing the real world when we want to, and then we'll be able to push a button, and they'll just go. They'll go opaque, and we'll be seeing, some other place. Would
you say AR is a lot more accessible right now than VR
because you can do it on your phone. And we all have these things in our pockets, and we can do it. But AR glasses are definitely coming, probably in a few years. People always talk about the Google Glass, but that wasn't true AR at all. That was like not even close.
It was also a bust because people thought it was full of shit before it even launched.
Yeah.
And so
well, the thing is, you couldn't do anything on the damn thing that you couldn't already do on your phone better and easier.
Exactly.
And it was like no.
You made a harder to use phone than I have to wear.
Right. Exactly. That's basically what I did. Now I got to say, like, I had one and it was pretty cool. I liked it, but I liked certain things about it.
But the sustainability of using that product.
Yeah, I used it for a while, and then I was like,
I think the problem was that they didn't iterate it quick enough, right? Like they had like a 6-month window on like V1 to be like, okay, here's 2, 3, and 4. We just need to like put one out there to make sure like a few things worked well. But now like this is way different.
Yeah.
Like they kept the framework of it. They released it at a point that they didn't already. Like Apple does this amazingly, right? They release phones like 10 versions ahead. Like we're on the XSR or whatever. It's basically version like 10A. But like they already know what's gonna be in like 20.
Right.
Like it might not be made yet, but they know the technology that needs to be made. They create the patents and they know what's gonna happen.
Yes.
So their production line is so far ahead. Just like a movie works so far ahead. I think Google Glass didn't know what was next. Right. It was like, fuck it, we're gonna like see what goes on. Well, and that was their downfall.
So the rumor mill says 2020 is when we're gonna see some Apple AR glasses come out. And we'll see whether that turns out to be true. But regardless of when it happens,
like maybe like you put the screen and then you can like watch a show through your glasses.
Well, you would just know you would have.
Wild,
but
right?
I mean, you basically have like whatever you wanted projected in front of you. I mean, the thing is, like keyboards are going away, screens are going away. We're just gonna be able to wiggle our fingers in the air and type stuff. We're gonna be able to put a screen wherever we want. We want to see something; it'll be around us wherever we want.
Right.
Information is going to become 3-dimensional. So it's like there's
Well,
all
it's
this
like the
stuff.
Iron Man screen,
It's
or
really,
like the Minority Report screen, where you just like push things out of the way if you don't want to read them.
Except even more than that, because the thing is, it'll actually be like 3-dimensional objects. Well, we'll be able to have 3-dimensional objects projected into our real
Iron
space.
Man 2 then.
So yeah, maybe I don't remember that, but yeah. So like rewinding just a little bit to what we're actually doing right now. Membit is an augmented reality photo sharing app. It's in the App Store right now. You can download it, try it out. It's MEMBIT. It's only for iPhones.
You're goddamn right.
Yeah.
For all you Samsung and Android users, fuck you.
We'll do an Android version eventually, but we haven't done it yet. So, but it's basically a way. Some people called it a time machine. So it's basically a way for you to take a photograph and you can put it in space and you can leave it there for someone else to see later.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
like people can come up and they can see what happened. Like we could do a Membit of us in this room, and then years from now, somebody could come back and see this photo of us here in this space.
That's amazing.
For all of our nerds listening, he's basically saying that he has a sling ring and he can use it and create a portal and just leave a picture in that portal.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's a good description. So it's like it's really fun. We're working right now on a 3D version of Membit. We have it. It's not in the App Store yet. We're still working some kinks out, but basically we can put 3D objects into space and leave them there. The thing that Membit does that's a little bit different from what most of the other AR things, like what Snapchat does or what any of the other ones can do, is that we can have things placed really precisely. And we do that because we have a system called the Human Positioning System, which basically shows the user a photograph that they use to line themselves up with the world, and then they hit the button, and then we show the augmented content in exactly the right spot.
Gotcha.
And that's better than GPS, because GPS is like, I don't know if you noticed, but GPS thinks you're down the block from where you really are.
It's not precise.
It's not precise at
it's
all.
accuracy and precision are different things. It's accurate because it knows about where I am every time, but it doesn't know exactly where I am.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, check it out. Like, right now, if you looked at your phone, like, I bet there's a really good chance that it would say you were either, like, halfway down the block one way or the other from
Probably,
where you
yeah.
really are. And you can sit there and watch it, and the little blue dot will just, like, wander around,
Yeah.
and it'll go all the way around for, like, a block away and then come back, because that's just how accurate it is. But so with the way Membit works is the map will get you, like, sort of close to the right area. Then you're shown a photograph and you're like, look for this.
Oh,
and you go
gotcha.
find it. And so it's a little bit like a treasure hunt, which is kind of
Nice.
fun. And then it's just a way to have very precise content. But one of the things that Matt and I have talked about a bunch is we think we could use this for a kind of narrative, a new kind of geolocative narrative artwork.
Yeah.
Comic books on like
Comic books
as
that
like
you walk through.
Yeah, comic books that you walk through and that like almost act like a game of Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah.
Right. So you use that construct that they use for the TV show, and every time you get to another location, you find that item. It unlocks another piece of the art and the story, and then you're off to the next location.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It can be really engaging.
And
cool.
you're walking,
Totally.
you're like embodying the space of the characters. So you're, and the thing is, like, to me, this actually ties into something that I think is really deep. I mean, a lot of what I'm doing in all of these areas is trying to find out, like, how does technology change humanity, but also how does humanity stay the same? And I think that there's like a really core thing, like pilgrimages. Pilgrimages exist in every culture. And why do people do that? They do that because they want to go to that place. And when you put yourself in the place where this thing happened that was important to you, you enter the story.
Yeah.
You're now a protagonist in that story.
Well, I mean, we are in a city with tons of natural museums for that exact reason, to go and like pay homage or to be reverent towards a monument or a memory of something that happened. Washington, D.C. with the National Mall, Chicago, all the Smithsonian's, like even parts of L.A. It's exactly that. I mean, people already do that because they want to do that.
Right.
So I think it's cool to like blend that with
You
art.
just blew my mind a little, because I'm starting to think back to like great TV shows, and now I'm realizing that the TV shows that have resonated the most in pop culture are shows that are like based around pilgrimages. Think about it. Game of Thrones. Pilgrimages, right? Those villages are basically a bunch of different pilgrimages fighting for land. Lost. That's a pilgrimage on a fucking island.
Right.
Right? Like a bunch of shows, if you think about it, if you tear down the construct, is based on how
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
how do
Space Jews.
Space Jews.
Yeah.
totally So how do you take what? How dare you laugh?
All Jew jokes are funny to me.
You are so
of you.
racist.
Because of you. It's not racist because I'm directing it at someone of that race who is not offended by it. So not racism.
I can't deny that. But no, I mean, if you take away like the shiny bells and whistles of those stories, that's really what it is. It's about like how do these people interact and engage in the small, tight knit village, which is a pilgrimage, basically. Very fascinating. What on the Membit side of things?
Yeah.
When let's say that somebody gave like what is your utopian future of this like meshing of technology and humanity, right? Because obviously everybody always thinks of like Terminator, right? And like how like shit can go really bad,
right?
But how
could shit go really right?
Yeah, how could shit go really right? But I will preface with I do think that that's really unlikely, and that most likely we will create a. Is that going to be bad later?
Oh no, I was just checking.
And I do think that like the idea that we create a super smart computer that is self-sentient and hates all of us is way more likely to happen before we figure it out.
Right. And then it kills us.
Right. So like I don't think.
And then the robots sit around picking their teeth with their bones, saying they had all these sci-fi shows that told them that we were going to kill them. Why did they make us?
Yeah. So, but do you think that that's possible?
That we could potentially go right with all this stuff? I think yes, I actually am very hopeful, and I think having kids made me more hopeful. I have a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old, and watching the little kids, their little friends play, I'm like, okay, humanity has a very high ceiling. Like we could be like they're born really good. Like they're born like way over towards the good side.
And everything that we do fucks them up.
And so basically, if we can just fuck up every generation slightly less, then we'll gradually become the people. We'll become the creatures that we could become.
We have, right? So if you think about it, we went from World War generations to isolated territory generations to generations that don't really care about war.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So trajectory-wise, we have fucked them up less.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, I was thinking about this, like, my father never killed anybody. I never killed anybody. Good thing my son's never going to kill anybody.
My granddad killed a lot of people.
Was he in a war?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my dad avoided the war, so good for him, I guess. But I mean, I'm glad for him that he did, right? So, but basically, like,
Kyle's killed a lot of robots. Does that count?
Yeah, I don't think so. No, you kill as many robots as you want.
I got through a toaster a day.
But I do. I mean, my hope for Membit.
I call them bitch bots.
Wow. My hope for Membit is that it can, go push us in the direction of paying more attention to the things that really matter to us.
Yeah.
And the thing that I like to say is that we've gone really far in a pendulum swing towards everybody, everywhere, all the time. And I want us to take a little bit back in the direction of you, me, here, now. And like really paying attention to what we're doing.
I think that's great. I completely agree. And I love that that's the sentiment. And I also really commend you for having that perspective and not going, then that means less technology, because it's definitely not what that means. Because I think that the stigma around authenticity in terms of like our culture and connection, and like moving through life genuinely, I think a lot of people mean that means less screens, less technology. And in a lot of ways it does, because people abuse them. We've become far too dependent on them for a lot of things, for a lot of reasons. But generally speaking, they're here to stay, and our society has been made dependent upon them now. And we have to have them. So I think the question that you guys are answering is, how can we still be authentic and genuine humans and focus on what matters in terms of memories, experiences, by in a very fun, engaging way, using this technology to our advantage and not demonizing it, not putting it in the closet and saying like, well, you only get to come out whenever like I don't feel bad about myself, and like you're here to stay. So like, let's find positive ways to use it and connect. And so like, I love that sentiment, because I agree that like I've taken a big step back from screens and like my overall use of social media and things like that, because
you feel better about it yourself.
I feel a lot better about it, but I also knew the answer wasn't to take it away, because like we use these things. Like I'm 29, I'm in the age bracket that is benefited by like I'm in the age like my age group is directly the one that's benefited by social media, and everyone younger than me.
I would actually that last part of the statement is where I argue against it. I think that our generation, I'm 31 in 2 weeks, right? I think that our generation is the only generation in front or behind us that has benefited from it.
That's true.
I think the generation under us has had too much of it to where they where they almost might be irreputably damaged.
Oh yeah,
and
they don't know how
generation
to.
in front of
they
us
don't know how to balance it.
is too far removed from like really knowing how to be on it with the
That's
technology.
very true. That's
yeah,
very true.
no, I feel very like not on it with a lot of the social media. Like I'm like never gonna be able to take Instagram as seriously as I know I should.
But I think the thing is that we don't take it seriously, but we understand it.
Yeah.
And the generation ahead of us doesn't understand it, and the generation below us thinks it's everything.
Well, because it's so normal for them, they don't understand that it's like
They don't remember playing stickball.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's
I
like
think that the construct that works best is what happened naturally for us, which was there wasn't really any technology when we were kids, and then it grew with us. I think that old technology should be like illegal, like just like there's a drinking age, there should be a technology age. I think it is mind-blowing when you see kids with iPads at 4 and 5.
Right.
You know, like I get it.
That's my kids.
I get it from
Yeah.
the standpoint that like it helps, it does things like that. We also live in a society now where it's not normal to tell your 6-year-old to go out to the park alone and come back later, which it was when I was a kid. Right.
Totally.
When I lived in Stuyvesant Town as a kid, my dad would tell me to go down to the park, play, and come back upstairs, which is totally normal.
Right.
You couldn't do that today. There could be
Absolutely
taking
not.
child services.
I know,
Right.
and that's crazy. And the funny thing is, like, I think that's crazy, and yet I don't let my kids go to the park by themselves. Even though, like, I think my 8-year-old could totally go to the park. There's a park like literally across the street from my building.
right, whether they're capable of doing it and whether it's acceptable for them to do it are separate.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah, like
Totally.
he could do it. It would be totally unacceptable. And so we don't do it.
Well,
But,
and you trusting
like,
him isn't even the problem. It's like you trusting the environment,
right?
and trusting
No,
other people.
right?
Like,
Because somebody would say, "Hey, little boy, how come you're not with your parents? What's going on?" And they call the
either
police.
you're going to be demonized for it,
Right.
or someone else is going to snatch his ass up, and then you're still going to be demonized for
Right.
it. So you lose either way.
I'm not doing it.
Best
Right.
case scenario, you lose and you get to keep your kid.
Right.
Worst case scenario, you lose and you lose your kid. That's
Right.
what happens when you sit in the park today.
Right.
That's the message from this episode.
So you can do that,
Stay at the
or
fucking
you can
house.
give them an iPad and let them watch Rick and Morty.
Right, which we don't let the kids watch Rick and Morty.
Right.
We did let them watch the first couple episodes, and my wife and I were sitting there watching it with my 8-year-old, and then we were like, "Oh yeah, no,
Yeah, but
this
here's
is
the
not
question, though.
appropriate for a little kid."
But I want to argue something.
We have to turn this off now.
But have you watched like old Disney with them? Because if you watch old Disney with your kids, they will find it funny and you will think it's wildly inappropriate.
Right, but that's the beauty of it because it's hidden and children don't understand. With Rick
Right.
and Morty
Is
and
it
shows
not as
like
hidden?
Oh, with Rick and Morty and shows like that, it's blatant. It's it's in
got
your
it.
face.
Oh, got it.
What's also
I
like
can't get past the burping, dude. I can't.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
you've
like-
seen
because he burps all the time.
Yeah, so
You've
I
seen-
don't even hear the
right,
story.
right.
I literally, it distracts me so much.
It's okay. It's fine. I think it's like watching shows with your kids. My wife and I have a 2-year-old, so he's not quite there yet. But like watching shows with your kids is like watching shows with your parents. You don't realize how much fucked up stuff is in it until either one of them are in the room.
Right, absolutely.
And you're like, oh my god.
Oh shit! Whoops!
Oh,
Oh no! Okay, no.
Like I don't want my kid
Don't watch
to.
this part.
I don't
right
want my
now.
kid to hear that, and I don't want my mom to see that.
Right.
So no thanks.
Right.
I'm gonna just watch
Oh my
it.
God. No, I think it was like the second episode of
Forever.
what we saw was the Pickle Rick episode. You remember that one?
Which now
And then
is
it's
a
just-
toy everywhere.
And
You
it's
go
just-
everywhere. It's
really,
yeah.
oh my god! And it's just like so
they sell Pickle
gruesome
Ricks,
and
like,
horrifying,
all over the
and
place.
like it's just like, well, no shit! Quick, turn it off.
Oh yeah, it happens way too fast.
Yeah.
Well, we will have when this episode comes up, we'll have a link to the App Store for the
Yeah,
app.
for Membit. Awesome.
Yes, for Membit. Is there anything else people should know going into it, or anything else you want to plug or tell anyone about it?
You know what I would love for anyone to do is to go out, find a photograph of something important to you, and go get something that happened near where you are, and go take Membit and go put that photograph back where it belongs in the place where it happened, and then write to me and tell me what that experience was like.
How are they going to
That's
write to you? What email would you like?
j@membit.co. JAY at Membit, membit.co.
Yeah, we'll throw all those links up.
And also, just before we leave, I want to hear, like, 30 years from now, everything goes well. what does a normal day look like with technology? Does everybody have a smart house? Is everybody on fuel efficient cars?
Well,
did we fix the ozone layer? Like, how do you see those things, like, from a technologies person, right?
Yeah.
Someone that's been doing this for 20, 30 years.
So what I would wish for and hope for is that we will have figured out how to make our media and our technology only come to us some of the time, and we have it really, really heavily filtered. So, like, the only things that get through, we actually have, like, intelligent agents, and I'm biting a little bit off of a sci-fi book that I read once, but basically, like, we have these intelligent agents that just, like, are like a really good secretary who basically, like, doesn't bother you with the bullshit and only comes to you when something really important happens. And most of our lives, we're not spending looking at a screen every few seconds, or if we are, we're probably doing and creating stuff in AR and VR, and we're not being constantly bombarded with just crap all the time.
Do you believe in, like, a AI email secretary? I've seen a lot of studies where, like, they think that there will be an AI that will, like, sift through your email, priority level it, and if it's, like, low priority, will just answer it for you and recap you later that day.
Yeah, I mean, and it won't be. I mean, it'll be AI in the sense of, you know, it'll be somewhat artificially intelligent. I don't think we're going to have true artificial intelligence, like intelligence the way that we think of ourselves as being intelligent. I don't think we're going to see it in 50 years. I think it's going to be, because I think it's pretty far out there. And part of the reason is that when we say intelligent, we don't even really know what the fuck we're saying about ourselves. Like, we don't actually know what we mean by.
We don't even know what we are technically. So technically, we're not intelligent.
What are we? Like, how are we doing what we're doing? Like, we don't even really know. And I think we're pretty far.
Isn't that like the definition of intelligence?
I think so. I don't know. I mean, I hope we're not.
We're self-aware in the micro, but not in the macro.
Well, self-awareness in existence and
not necessarily in existence.
Well, but self-awareness in existence and in reason are different. Like, we are aware that we exist, but so many people. I would argue that no one knows why. You know?
Right? No. Nobody knows why. And I think that's technically what real intelligence is.
Well, and it's also kind of an interesting moral conundrum when you think about that. The human condition, right? Where we're like, I mean, my personal opinion is that we're just monkeys that got too smart for our own good, and that our brains are actually like peacock tails. They're a result of sexual selection rather than natural selection. So that is a runaway sexual selection where at some point, like, being smart was sexy, and so, like, people basically just bred themselves to be smarter and smarter until we're, like, way smarter than we need to be for most of the time what we need to do. So, like, that's why most of us are, like, miserable all the time, because we're, like, too smart. And so then you think about that. If that's true, like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. Why are we here? Right? That's, like, a big question. If we then create artificially intelligent robots or computers, what's the moral like math of that? We just inflicted our fucked up problem on this new thing that, like, we created it, and we already, like, we made it to be, like, I mean, we do that every time we have kids too.
Totally.
But we, like, made, like, a new kind of being that, like, also doesn't know why the fuck it's here and is, like, plagued with.
I saw this funny meme on Reddit right before we go. It's in a Marvel subreddit, and it was basically like, it just had a side-by-side panel of Thanos and Ultron, and it said, like, Thanos, like, really wasn't that bad, tried to wipe out half of humanity, but wanted half of it to stay. Ultron was online for 5 minutes, saw all of the internet, and decided everything needed to go. All of it. Everyone needed to go. Like, who's worse here? And also, Ultron was a machine. Machines don't make mistakes. So it's like, we shouldn't be here.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
That's hilarious. I love that. So basically, you think that. Here's my thing. On that point, I agree with you that I think that there's a really good chance that we do it right with technology and we create a really great future. With the caveat that I don't think we don't create Ultron first by accident.
Right.
Just like I don't think...
assuming we don't fuck that up, it'll probably go all right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Just like I always say, when we are creating a nuclear bomb, we make 3 places on this planet inhabitable within 50 years during testing.
Oh, yeah.
I think when we try to create a warp engine, we throw Earth off the axis because we launch it too close to the planet. You know, like,
absolutely.
Like scaling-wise, it's the same mistake.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Or we throw the moon off axis, which fucks up our tides, which like fucks everything up, right?
Yeah, but really just Japan and most of the West Coast. I'll go back to Oklahoma and be fine. Like,
but yeah, I think that there's a lot of hope on technology doing really great things, but to Elon Musk's point, to kind of bring this conversation full circle to how he's really doing it the right way. If you look at his papers and dissertations on AI and on technology, it's not that he thinks AI is bad. It's that he thinks that the people working on it need to be regulated more because they can create Skynet without anybody knowing, and it'll be too late once that happens.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Skynet's fucking exist in a version right now. It's
Totally.
it's just controlled by people,
Right.
but the network and the technology and like the reach and what it's capable of are all
if it became
there.
sentient, it could kill everybody like that.
Exactly.
Yes.
The only difference is it's not sentient. It's controlled by people, but
Right.
but it exists. It
Right.
exists. So I hope everyone has a great day.
Yeah.
And
Go out there and enjoy the beautiful weather.
have fun. You know what? Focus on what we have. That's the point of Membit, is
Right.
to focus on what's here and use the things that we have to our advantage in a fun way. We'll throw all the links up. Jay, thanks for coming on, talking technology.
Thank you.
Talking
My pleasure.
about comics, talking shit, and being a Star Wars person. Because I'm a Star Wars person, Matt's a Star Trek person, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But like,
Am I not
It's
Star
okay.
Wars person also?
you are a Star Wars person also,
Yeah.
but you full on, like, if you had to pick, I think in terms of cultural significance alone, you would go with Gene Roddenberry all day over anything that anyone.
Visually Star Wars, writing Star Trek.
That's what I'm saying. And so, like, yeah. But Star Wars is also a great story.
I love them both,
Fantastic.
but Star Wars
Yes.
was the thing that
Star Wars was my childhood.
captured my heart when I was a little
Same.
boy.
But
So,
But that's
yeah.
true.
Star Wars got me into sci-fi.
I got into Star Trek after I was already a
That's
huge
true. I
Star
forgot
Wars
about
fan.
that. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Star Trek is like the higher level.
Basically, what I'm saying is, Jay, thanks for identifying yourself. Matt, fuck you.
Also, we had
May the Force be with you,
Allegra
Kyle.
coffee today from Whole Foods.
Oh, yeah. Whole Foods coffee is not bad.
Iced coffee, really,
It
really
was,
good.
yeah, it was. It was
Really
quite
good.
good.
I did not partake today, but I have had Whole Foods coffee before. It's not bad.
Cool. Well, now we're gonna go take a couple-hour break, and then we're gonna go record Nerds on Coffee live at Ludlow House tonight
Live.
with Joe Kelly of Billboard Magazine.
Yeah.
Hopefully this comes out before that one digitally. Maybe we won't do that just for the fun of this. So it's wrong. But
It's really just to fuck Joyce's life up.
yeah, I think for Joyce's sanity, we'll put this one out after Joe's.
Yes, thanks everyone for
Thanks,
coming.
guys.
Thanks everyone for coming to Soho tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
So.
Have a good night. Bye, guys.
Bye.